Hey everybody, I'm Curtis.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is Love at First Fright. My entire existence has been taken up by two video games that have come out very recently.
I know what one of them is. It's got to be the Oblivion remaster.
Yes, that's the more recent one. And that's great. It's a remaster of a game from like 20 years ago at this point.
And it rules.
It rules. It's so good. They didn't really fix any of like the buggy jankiness of it. They just made it look better. And that's, I think, all anybody really wanted out
Honestly,
of it.
if it wasn't janky, we wouldn't be playing it.
Yeah. I saw a guy walking around in the main city that didn't have legs.
Yeah.
Not that they didn't have pants on. The legs of the model didn't load in, so they were just like a torso floating around, kind of gliding through the city. Yeah. And I said, hell yeah, Oblivion, never change.
Never change.
It's great.
Well, and the thing is, you can't even really call that an error because it's a magic world. So how do you know? Right.
That guy could just have a spell and he's like, you know what? I don't want to have legs today. Poof.
Yeah. Or maybe he just straight up doesn't have legs.
Maybe he doesn't have legs. Maybe he is just a torso.
He's magic powered.
Mm-hmm. It very well could be. Who's to say in the magical world of the Elder Scrolls?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's been taking up like a lot of my time recently because I loved that game when I was younger. I would stay up far too late playing it. Like 6 a.m.
Yeah, that's late.
Late.
That winds back around to being early.
To early, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would do that, and but now I'm more responsible. So now it hits 11:30, and I feel myself getting pretty tired. So.
And then you just fall asleep on the couch, and I wake up the next morning, and you're still in like a dialogue.
I'm in a dialogue, which the game kind of pauses around you when you like start a dialogue with somebody. So I was in the middle of a dialogue with the character being voiced by Sean Bean in the game.
Yep.
And he was telling me about how he wasn't sure that he was supposed to be the new emperor or whatever. And so I kind of just woke up because you started, doing stuff around the house because you were getting up. I woke up and then I just sat up on the couch and I was like, well, time to get back into it.
Back into more Oblivion.
Right back into there, right where we left off. No downtime.
Yep.
But I do like to imagine that for like 8 hours, I was just intensely staring at this.
Yeah.
And after he told me, he was like, I don't know if I want to be the emperor.
And he is the most polite conversationalist because he did not rush you at all. He was like, you know what? Take your time.
Hey, let him cook.
Yeah. Formulate your response.
Think about it.
Digest it.
Yeah. Whatever you need.
Yeah. I'm here.
So that's been really fun. The other game that has been taking up arguably more of my time and also your time a little bit is a new game called Blueprints.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of hard to describe. If you don't really know about video games, the next few phrases I'm going to say are going to mean nothing to you. It is a deck builder roguelite puzzle game. That is to say that like how it works is when you go into, you've been given or inherited a mansion from your now dead uncle.
Great uncle,
sorry. But the requirement in order to actually get the inheritance is you have to reach what he's calling the 46th room of this mansion. However, the mansion is laid out on a grid that is 5 spaces wide by 9 spaces tall, so that only equals 45 for all of my math whizzes at home.
Yeah.
So where's the 46th room? That's what you're trying to solve, is where the 46th room is. But every time you go into the mansion, you start in a foyer, if you will.
If you fancy.
If you're nasty.
If you're nasty, which I am.
There are 3 doors that you can pick from, and every time you open a door, any door in the house, you have to draft a new room. So you get a selection of 3 rooms to pick from, and it can, this is the deck builder part. So you have a pool of rooms that it decides that it's going to pick from, and you have to pick out of those 3 that it gives you the choices for which one you want in that space, and you're trying to reach certain objectives.
Right.
But then within each room, there's like clues and puzzles to either solve like a puzzle within that room. Like, for instance, there's a room that has a dartboard in it, and the puzzle there is the dartboard is like a math puzzle. So you have to know how to do like order of operations and, how to add, subtract, divide, and like what different symbols mean and stuff, which that kind of makes it sound like, oh, this is a game for babies. It's not.
No, it's hard.
It gets hard. And then there's another room, it's called the parlor, and it's like a logic puzzle where there are 3 boxes, and it tells you that at least one of the boxes will always be true, and at least one of the boxes will always be false. And then you have to like figure out, based on the statements on these boxes, which ones these gems are in, and you use those to help with drafting rooms later. And then there's like keys, and then there's like meta puzzles, so like there's rooms that just have puzzles contained to themselves, and then there's puzzles that like you have to pay attention to like every little detail in any room you go in, because there's a chess piece in this room and that relates to a different thing in a different place. It was so funny because when we started playing it, you were like, I don't think there's no way that this can be this can mean something.
Right.
And I was like, no, everything has to mean something. And then it was like, we're like 50 some odd days into the run that we have on it, but we were like approaching the 30th day, and we were panicking because we were not close to the end or anything. And when we started to really understand that, no, everything really does mean something in this game.
So you need to have like a notebook ready. You're basically doing homework.
We have a shared notes file on our phones, so that when I'm like steering, we can like call things out, and then Hannah will like really quick type up a note in there, or like I'll take a picture of the screen because like I can't describe all that.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy like how much like the most insignificant detail ends up coming back later, and you actually do need to know what that meant. We encountered so many things where like that's probably just set dressing, and then later we found a thing and we're like, no. It means something.
Yep. The game was much more complex than I ever could have imagined.
We did eventually reach the 46th room. I hesitate to say that we beat it. We reached the 46th room.
I mean, that was the main objective.
To inherit the thing, yes. But there's also these letters that you're supposed to find, and we've only found 4 of the 7.
Which I don't even know where these other ones are. I
don't know. But there's a whole bunch of other mysteries. There's rooms that I've like just discovered that have puzzles in them that like I don't know how to solve them. I just keep looking at them and then thinking about it. So anyway, this is taking up like all of my time and brain power.
Yes.
It's fun, but it does make you feel like a mad person.
Yeah.
If you could see the notes that we have.
It looks like the ramblings of a madman.
There's just a thing that says like Rook and Nook.
Yeah. Rook and Nook, is that anything?
Is this something? And it is. It is something. That's the thing.
Just random abbreviations with question marks and yeah.
No, it's great. I love it. I don't even know how many like photos we have in there. It's like it's so many different things.
It's not really like a multiplayer game, but it was actually fun to play together because we could try to ration all this stuff out, and we would just stay up too late on the couch being like, what does it mean? What does it mean?
Yeah, I think the latest we went one time, like we both like were just like super into it. And then we checked the time and it was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we need to go to bed.
Yeah.
Because this is...
we have stuff to do.
Because like, I don't know that either one of us was going to be able to solve anything.
No. We were just
like, does the wallpaper color mean something?
Right. There's flowers.
It's really good. It's I don't want to call it like a cozy game, but there's not like a monster.
No, there's no danger time
anything.
Limits or whatever.
So it really is just puzzle solving. It's a really good single player experience if you do have like other people around you that, you know, might be interested in this kind of a thing. it's a fun kind of co-op thing because different perspectives and viewpoints are really, really useful in solving certain puzzles. Because there were things I looked at and I was like, I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah.
And then you would look at it for like 30 seconds and be like, oh, it's this. And then the other way around on some things.
Yeah.
So it can be really fun. It's a go at your own pace kind of a thing. So if you do like games, highly recommend.
Yeah. So Blueprints. Check it out.
Yeah.
It's got the love at first fright stamp of approval.
Yep.
Pa-ching. That's the stamp sound.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry we missed an episode.
Yeah, we kind of took a break around Easter just because we've both been really busy, and we weren't sure we wanted to take a break, but we just kind of got up against it.
It was a lot of things falling into place at the exact wrong kind of time, I guess. So we had like the episode release. It was Easter weekend. Busy with work, school, you know, coming up into finals. I'm still dealing with that, so you know, whatever. But
almost there.
Yep, we're almost through it. So, but we're back.
We're back. Guess who's back? Back again.
And we watched a new one for you. Not a new one. Not new in the sense that it just came out, but new as in I don't know that anyone other than my parents and us have ever seen this movie.
Well, that certainly can't be true. But I would be surprised if anyone who tunes into this episode has just so happened to watch this film.
Yeah. This is my favorite movie.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's an older movie. It's from 1974, and it's a British horror movie. So the movie we're covering today is called The Beast Must Die. It was directed by Paul Annett. And the screenplay was written by Michael Winder, and it's based on a short story from the 50s called There Shall Be No Darkness by James Blish, I believe is how you'd say his name. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of give you the overview, basically the plot follows this millionaire big game hunter who gathers 6 people at his remote, English countryside mansion, announcing that he suspects one of them is a werewolf. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
So it's following him trying to figure out who among them is the werewolf and eliminate them. But an interesting thing about this movie, and they set this up from the beginning, is that the viewer is kind of invited to follow along and unfold the mystery with the characters.
Yeah.
So they, set it up in the beginning with the narrator basically saying it's up to you.
Look out for the werewolf break.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there literally is a point at the climax of the film where there's a werewolf break where a real clock comes up and
it's 30 seconds.
30 seconds. It goes through the faces of each of the people and it's like, who do you think is the werewolf? Yep. So it's very much a whodunit kind of mystery.
Yeah.
It is a horror film. That's what they bill it as. But I would not say this is a particularly scary
horror film for people who don't like horror films. Yeah. Like, you can watch this. You're going to be okay.
It's more of a mystery movie. Yes, there is horror in the sense that people die. There's some blood and there's, werewolf tropes and all that kind of stuff. But it's more of a trying to parse out by the clues that are available who's the werewolf.
It's way more of a mystery.
Yes.
And slightly thriller-y than it is horror. But it is still a horror movie.
Yes, that's that's the genre it falls under. But let's go over the cast first before we kind of get into the movie. Yeah. So we have Calvin Lockhart playing the main character, Tom Newcliffe. We have Peter Cushing, as Professor Christopher Lundgren.
It's still crazy to me.
Yep. Marlene Clark as Carolyn Newcliffe, Tom's wife. We have Charles Gray as Arthur Bennington. Anton Diffring as Pavel. We have Sierra Madden as Davina. Tom Chadbon as Paul Foote. And Michael Gambon... Dumbledore, Michael Gambon as Jan Jarmakowski.
Yeah, they call him Jan.
They call him Jan the whole time.
Just call him Jan the whole time.
Yeah. I do find it funny how some of the characters have full names and some of them don't. Like, we have Davina, But then we have Paul Foot, who's almost exclusively referred to as both Paul and Foot, Paul Foot.
Yeah.
Never just Paul. So I don't know why that is. But
who knows?
Yeah, so Tom Newcliffe is the one that's brought everybody together, and then the other characters are kind of the suspects,
yes.
so to speak.
Yeah, this movie is only 92 minutes long.
Yep.
So it's they get in and out. It somehow feels like
doesn't feel like that.
Feels like it tracks. But you will check your watch and be like, wow, really only 90 minutes, huh?
I think the thing about this movie is that there is a plot, but the plot is like... The plot is so simple and straightforward that they didn't really have enough to, like, flesh out a movie.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of just, like, long scenes where, like, a car is following another car through the, like, land that he owns. Yeah. And it's, like, the most low-stakes... car chase, quote unquote, that's like not really even visually impressive or that engaging. So it's just kind of like a lot of aerial shots of like a car in the woods.
Yeah. Well, like the scene where the big car chase, in quote, heavy quotes, is one of the suspects is trying to leave after it's become apparent that, you know, they're there because they think they're being accused of being a werewolf.
Right.
And they're trying to... I can't remember the reason they're trying to leave exactly that he gives.
Well, I think the reason that he says is that if there is really a werewolf, he wants to get the hell out of there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And he's like trying to go to the village that's like 12 miles away. I don't know. It's whatever. It doesn't matter.
They call towns villages over there.
Anyway, but like this car chase is happening. He's trying to leave, and then Tom realizes he's trying to leave, so he hops in his car and starts chasing after him. And it's a lot of these shots where the guy trying to leave, I think it's Jan.
It's Jan.
Jan's trying to leave, and he'll come to like where there's like a crossroads, and Tom will pull up and meet him at the crossroads, but slightly behind him, and Jan will keep going down whatever road, and then Tom will like have stopped and then turn down another, what's I guess supposed to be like a shortcut path, even though he was right behind him and would be chasing him still. It's like that for like a really long period of time where it's like he's not really making up any ground because he does keep catching him until he happens to reach the one crossroad where he manages to somehow get right in front of him, even though this entire time he was basically behind him anyway.
Yeah. And again, we're making it, honestly, even discussing it makes it sound more exciting than it is.
It's so not exciting.
There's not even like real roads here. It's all like gravel. So they're driving at like exceptionally reasonable speeds.
Yeah, it's like 25 miles an hour. They're not shooting guns at each other.
It's so just...
There's nobody like, duh! In the steering wheel, like, oh my god, he's right on me. It's none of that. It'll be like a couple of cars passing each other, and then we go to an aerial shot so you can see that like one's on like a high road and one's, and then we're back down to following. It's nothing. It's nothing for like 5 minutes.
And that's any time they have to get in the car, because there's multiple scenes where there's some kind of chase. Like there's one night early on, because originally at the start of this, all the guests are like, okay, you're being weird, werewolves aren't real, basically. So at first they're all like, this is stupid, but we're just gonna kind of play along, I guess, because we're here. But then pretty quickly it becomes apparent that there is a werewolf, whether it's one of them or some other monster, who knows, but something is happening because people start dying. But even then, there's a chase, quote unquote, scene where he's in a helicopter with like one of his guys, because he's got like basically a full militia with him. Yep. But he's in a helicopter chasing the werewolf through the woods, who, may I also just add, because this is 1974, it's just a wolf. Yeah. It's just a normal dog.
It's a dog.
It's there's no special effects.
It's not a guy in a suit.
It's a dog. It's a dog. But they're, quote unquote, chasing this dog through the woods, and it is the most low stakes, just like they're high up in a helicopter in no danger with a spotlight, occasionally losing track of the dog and then finding the dog again. It's so But these scenes just go on and on.
And they keep doing the thing where, like, they don't actually film it at night. They film it in the day, and they just put, like, a blue filter over it. So you can tell it is fully daytime in any of these shots. It's just now very blue.
Yes. Yeah, they do that throughout. There's never a scene that they film at night, even though a lot of the scenes take place at night.
Yes, it's very good.
And all of this to say, so the opening of this film is the first chase scene that we get. And arguably is probably the longest one.
It's extremely long.
It goes on for a while.
It doesn't explain anything until the end of the chase scene. Yes. So you are if you go to watch this movie, you're probably going to think you're watching the wrong movie. Right,
you're like,
right
is
at
this
the start.
It? Yeah. But from the beginning, we see a man, running through the woods, and he's wearing, like, the cuntiest little, like, horse riding outfit. He's got, like, a black turtleneck, black high riding boots.
Yep.
Like, not an outfit you would want to be wearing
no.
in a foot chase in the woods. But he's going around. We're seeing little flashes of, there's guys with guns following in pursuit, and then we're getting some shots into some kind of home base where there's a guy who
with like a German accent.
Yeah, German accent, and he's clearly got these woods like rigged up because we're seeing sensors are going off and there's microphones in the ground.
Target in Sector 4. He's on your left.
You were starting to give a little bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger there.
Target in Sector 4. Get him. Get out of the chopper.
Yes, but they've literally got, like, guys in jeeps, a helicopter, people on foot, the man in the control room, like, guiding them as to where to go. We're seeing cameras in the trees and mics in the ground.
Giant ass, like,
yes, because again, it's 1974.
Camera.
They're huge security cameras, and the mics that are in the ground are just microphones
that are just sticking up out of the dirt.
Which I'm like, how did we even do this? Because
I don't know.
You would have had to run wires to all of these, so it's got to be insane.
Yeah.
The maintenance of that is just, I mean, one fucking armadillo comes through and your whole operation is donezo.
Yep.
But yes, and this goes on for a while, and part of the weird thing is that there's like a point where some of the guys on foot catch up to the person who's running, but they don't kill him or seize him, and so you're kind of like, what's going on here? They basically give him another chance to get away. All of this many minutes later comes to an end when he is finally, it's over for him. He's captured. But then it's revealed, plot twist.
Yeah.
They all work for him.
Yeah.
And he was basically doing like a trial run to make sure that all of this technology and training he's put into these men is going to be sufficient to catch a werewolf.
Right. Yeah, so we've got all of this rigging, the men and everything. We find out that, like, besides the cameras and microphones that we see, there's also, like, underground microphones that have somehow been rigged up.
Which are supposed to be intelligent enough to tell the difference between a human foot and, like, an animal foot. Which
there was a scene during that chase thing when the reveal being, obviously, that it's Tom that's running through the woods. Him. He, like, falls on the ground at one point, and he lands near a microphone, which we immediately can see, but he looks over at like how could this be here or whatever, and it's the most obvious thing, or whatever.
No attempt to hide.
The guy in the control room is like, I can hear his heartbeat. And I'm like, what is going on?
It's bizarre.
It's so weird.
I also just have to say, so Tom Newcliffe is a black man.
Yes.
The optics of
the opening scene of this movie is insane.
Buck wild. I don't know that it was intentional, but you have a black man running through the woods being pursued by a German guy.
Yeah, yep.
And then like a bunch of white dudes
in the helicopters and
with fucking heavy weaponry. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what are we watching right now? Am I about to see a hate crime on my television?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Oh my god. But no, they flip the switch and they say, oh, You thought, didn't you?
I choose to think it's intentional. That they're challenging the audience.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you thought they were going to kill him because he's black, huh? No, they work for him. Yes. And it's like, okay.
Maybe you're the problem.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, we could all do with a little self-reflection. I will take that feedback and I'll simmer on it.
I do want to say, if you're not like driving, if you're like near a computer, on your phone, whatever, real quick, if you could just Google this movie real quick and then just look at the poster.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, tells you what you need to know about this. The image that they use, I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, I've seen it.
Stupidest little like side eye.
Yes. And it's not even like, is that even in the movie? Like,
no.
I don't think that seems like they're trying to make the werewolf look like they did some special effects when in reality it's just a black dog.
From what I can remember, there is approximately one like transformation.
Yeah, it's at the very end.
And it's at the very end, and it is like what you would imagine 1970s transformation.
It's the fade.
Yes, fade from one thing to another thing,
right,
in like steps. So it doesn't look good.
No.
Every other time we see the werewolf, it is just a dog.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of a warning that there is...
Oh, there is an animal death.
Yeah.
In this, because there is a dog, like a
normal dog,
a pet dog.
Yeah.
That does get killed. That was in my notes. I wrote the dog dies, and I put a sad.
Yeah. So if that's something that you don't like to see, then skip this one.
Yeah, and there's also like kind of a leading up to the dog dying. There's kind of a fight scene between the werewolf and the dog, because the dog is trying to protect, his owners, the New Cliffs. He's trying to, make sure that they don't get hurt by the werewolf. So the dog is being heroic, and unfortunately isn't
beefs
able
it pretty hard.
Beefs it hard. Isn't able to stand up to the werewolf. I don't know. I did have the thought while watching it, because the 70s aren't the most well known for having like good animal handling and
especially
safety practices.
On low budget movies like to put it into perspective, whatever you're thinking the budget of this movie was, probably lower.
Yeah,
it was 187,000 pounds.
Yeah, which is not good.
That's nothing.
So I don't know that I certainly don't think they killed the dog to do this, because the injuries didn't look real. But like the dog fight scene may have been actual aggression between the dogs. I don't know. It did kind of bum me out watching it.
Yeah,
so
it's not great.
Just proceed with caution, because if that's something you're sensitive to, this movie, while it is funny and ridiculous, is not worth, upsetting yourself over.
Absolutely not. I don't know. I've not really researched it at all, so I don't know.
I did like a cursory, because I always I put together the cast list and the plot and stuff, so I always do like a little bit of research on the movies, but I think because it's not a especially popular movie, there just isn't a lot of like trivia to go around. So we don't know the deets of that. Basically.
Yeah, it's certainly not. It's not jumping out obvious like the Friday the 13th snake thing,
killing a snake,
where
awful.
That was an actual snake that they killed for that,
and that was fucked up, and they shouldn't have done that.
So we don't know, but
Yeah.
Anyway.
The other thing I wanted to say, I just wanted to talk about this because it was one of the most consistently funny parts of the movie, is Peter Cushing. He's playing a professor who is brought in by Tom Newcliffe because he's some kind of werewolf expert, it's also funny to me because he speaks so matter-of-factly about like, well, the werewolf wouldn't be able to stand the sight of this and that.
The werewolf would immediately die from silver.
Yes, and it's like, oh, so you've just seen this happen a bunch of times, you piece of shit.
This is my exact response to that one episode of Finding Bigfoot when Matt Moneymaker comes up on screen, is like, they don't look like that. Fuck you.
Like, oh, so you've seen them and
you've seen them? You have one in your backyard,
Yes. But I loved this character so much because the professor would always say, werewolf. Werewolf, not werewolf, werewolf. It was just like the stupidest little thing. And they really threw every stereotype and trope
yeah.
about werewolves. They did the wolfsbane, they did the silver, they did the full moon. They had it all, baby.
Yep. It was great. There's multiple scenes in this movie where like try to figure out who the werewolf is. They have to like hold a candlestick that's made of silver.
He's trying to test them.
After they do this the first time and it doesn't reveal who the werewolf is, and so, you know, as a viewer, you're probably like, all right, maybe Tom's just kind of lost it. I don't know.
People. He's also low-key holding them hostage.
Not even low-key. At a certain point in the movie, he takes something out of all of their cars, so nobody can leave.
It's funny because originally everyone seems like relatively chill about this. They're like, oh, it's just Tom being weird and intense again, nothing to worry about. But then they actually like want to leave, and he's like, no, I'll kill you. You're gonna stay here because you're not allowed to leave.
One of you is a werewolf, and I will find out which one.
And honestly, they do discuss this at different points. I don't think anybody put up enough of a fight about being held hostage.
No, they seem like they've been like minorly inconvenienced by the fact that they're not allowed to leave.
Yes, and I'm like, no, if that was me, I'd be like, okay, dude, I'm gonna call the police now. This is not okay.
One of the things with Peter Cushing when he's talking about the werewolf thing is right after they do like the first candlestick thing, they're like, wouldn't that have revealed it? And he's like, no, because the werewolf would have needed to be exposed to wolfbane's pollen, and unfortunately that doesn't grow around here. And it's like on cue. Yes. When he says it, Tom shows back up and he's like, you mean this wolf's bane?
Which he's been like cultivating
in a greenhouse on the property for this exact moment.
But it's also funny how like we let everybody go through this candlestick test, and then when it doesn't work out, you're like, okay, so no one's the werewolf. But then here comes the professor being like, no, because you have to have the wolf's bane pollen, and that's why it didn't work, not because I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay,
you're not a werewolf expert. I am.
It's just so silly. And one thing that they did that was a little bit different was they kind of have this lore with the werewolves that the longer they are a werewolf, the harder it would be for them to like control changing. Yeah. But that like a young werewolf will still have some of their humanity, I guess, and so they would be able to temporarily delay the transformation, which is another thing that the professor throws in to be like, well, just because you have the wolfsbane now and everybody touched the candlestick doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about, okay? Yeah. It's just because it's probably young.
Yeah, it very much gives that's it. It's because it's a young werewolf.
That's the problem. It's really funny. Yeah, there's a lot of moving the goalposts that goes on in this movie because they want to up the stakes by being like, oh, the tension of everyone having to hold the silver and waiting to see what's gonna happen, but of course nothing ever does happen.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, I don't want to say it's a good movie.
I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's bad.
But I do really like watching it.
It's funny to watch, and I do like the whodunit aspect. I think if you decide to watch it, play along. You know, like they leave you some clues and tidbits. Yeah. You learn about each of the characters. There's reason to suspect all the different characters, you know, so you...
Yeah, but there's, like, better reasons for some than others.
Yeah, some of them it's really funny where they'll be like, one time you looked at me wrong and it seemed like you had some hair on your back, and then other people it's like, you've eaten a man before.
That is literally one of the reasons one of them is suspected is that they've eaten human flesh before, and I'm like, maybe it's that guy. Yeah, maybe I don't know, but like
cannibal. Why Paul Foot the cannibal also? Yeah. Just like...
Which again, it's one of those things like you hear it and you're like, nobody else is reacting, I think, appropriately for the information we just learned.
Well, and he even the character kind of shrugs it off as like, I'm an anthropologist. I was observing the local customs. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're not allowed to just eat a guy.
Yeah. You can't just do that.
You can't just be like, oh, well, you win in Rome, you know?
Bottoms up. No, it's wild. I would say, so like obviously watch this however you want to. I don't know your life, but like if you were looking for like a fun thing to do with like a group of friends on a night, get them together and put this on if you've never seen it and try to figure it out. We're intentionally not trying to spoil who the werewolf is.
Oh yeah, I want to leave that wide open
because
it
is fun to work it out, and then when you get to that 30-second werewolf break,
then you can
like really hash it out. And don't pause it when it gets to the werewolf break so you can work it out. You have 30 seconds to do the werewolf break. If you don't figure it out, you're bad at puzzles. That's what this means.
That's what it means. Yeah, it's exciting to get it right. So this is actually the second time I've seen this movie.
Yeah, me too.
But there was a long time in between, so I couldn't quite remember what the solution was going into it the second time. But I will say the first time I was able to mostly figure it out. Mm-hmm. And the second time similarly. Mm-hmm. So you can reason your way. Yeah. It's not just like a total crapshoot.
Yeah, no, it's definitely possible to basically solve it by the end of the movie.
Well, and it gets easier as it goes along because certain characters get killed off.
Yeah, right, so that it can't be them.
Right,
so.
Because there's one character, Arthur Bennington, who I forget what the, reason was that he was under suspicion, but he's, the businessman type. But he's one of the characters that dies pretty early on. So it's pretty obvious that it's not him, which is, I guess kind of a spoiler, but it happens early on. So there's still plenty more to figure out.
Yeah.
But, and that character too, I don't know if you realized this, but did you recognize Charles Gray, the actor who played that character?
I recognize the face, but I can't place.
He's the criminologist in Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yep.
That's where I know it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cool people in this movie.
Yeah. They were just free.
Yeah, they just had some time and they were like, hey, want to go to the woods?
I'm gonna shoot a movie in the woods. But no, it is fun as a one-off thing to show your friends and just kind of experience a little mystery. I feel like we don't get a lot of mystery movies like this where you can...
I like it. It actually kind of makes me want there to be maybe not movies, but maybe a TV show or something where you have a little mystery and they give you a built-in break to be like,
I honestly
was it this person?
For the budget they had for this, again, less than 200,000 pounds. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that equates to in US dollars, but a TV show that's 90 minutes long. Uh-huh. I know that's movie length, but 90 minutes long for that kind of budget, tighter stories, little mysteries would be great.
It would be a lot of fun.
You could do 3 episodes a season or something like that. I think would be really good and just have nice...
I would watch something like that because I think it's fun to solve a mystery. It's why I like reading mystery novels and horror novels. Is part of it is trying to piece together the clues and figure it out before the end,
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. Mysteries and stuff like that are some of my favorites. It's one of the reasons I really liked Knives Out and and Glass Onion. Really, really excellent mystery movies.
Kind of similar vibes, except not at all.
Yeah, similar except in every way that it would matter.
Right. Similar in that they're both mysteries and there's a cast of characters that you're trying to figure out who's guilty.
And you can figure out the mystery before the end, technically speaking. But
different in every other way.
But different in literally and better.
By a lot.
Yeah, The Beast Must Die is miles ahead.
It's so much better.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Anyway, do we want to go ahead and rate this really quick?
Yeah, sure. We can rate it. I will say, as we've discussed, I didn't find this movie to be particularly scary.
No, it's got a 1 in scares for me.
I gave it a 2 only because there's blood and death and stuff. but it's not particularly scary.
Yeah.
To me, it's more, honestly, I feel like a kid could probably watch this
Yeah.
and wouldn't be traumatized for life.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think it's a pretty easygoing as far as like scary movies go.
In general, I didn't think the performances were great, but you also have to keep in mind, I think this was, to some degree, it was intentional. There was a lot of like overacting because it is
Very
kind of
much.
this dramatic mystery thing.
Yeah. I think, especially because it's a tight 90 movie and we're introduced to this like slew of characters and it's a mystery thing, I think a lot of it is like what you're saying, the overacting, and they want to present all of these characters as being a little bit larger than life so that like in this very condensed time span,
right,
we have a connection and like feel like we understand all of these characters.
Yeah.
So by that nature, yes, they are kind of overacting, but
right, but still performances weren't great. Like there's so Tom's wife is one of the main, characters, and as the movie goes along, she's very much like not agreeing with what he's doing. Like she thinks he's being ridiculous and she's like, you got to put a stop to this. And she gets to a point where she's kind of pissed at him by the end. And there's a point where one of the tests that he has everybody do is to hold a silver bullet in their mouth because there would be no way to like fake that or whatever.
yeah.
And when it's her turn to do it, she does this very dramatic, I've been like saying it in my head as like a verbal tick since we watched this, where she's like, time for my pill. It's just so funny. The face she makes, she like bares her teeth. Time for my pill. It's so bad, but so good.
No, it's very silly.
But
when you get into that, the visuals, as we kind of discussed, are pretty garbage.
Yeah.
It's an extremely low budget horror movie. The one transformation we see is that stepped fade from werewolf to human face.
Yeah.
We never see anybody actually transform into a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
There are some, I think there's one shot where it's like implied that it is happening, like it is active, but then like we don't see like the end result of it.
Yeah. But it's in general not a great movie. I gave it a 4. You gave it a 3.6. So together, that gives us a 3.8 for this, which I think is fair.
I think it's extremely fair. It's the thing is I've seen worse movies that are trying to be better than this.
Yeah, definitely.
Like this movie, like I gave it a 7 in entertainment and a 5 in vision, which might sound a little high for like everything we've talked about with this movie, but I think this movie succeeds where other movies fail because I think this movie still understands its place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's never trying to be anything it isn't.
Yeah. And so I think that goes like a long way in this, where like it's certainly not the best movie I've ever seen. It never would be.
Yeah.
It is far from the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's pretty entertaining, especially when people are acting. Like I honestly think my biggest criticism, if I was going to earnestly try to improve this movie, would be to take out the low stakes, low budget car chases and stuff.
There's like no reason for them.
The best parts of the movie, the most entertaining parts of the movie are when the actors are on stage and they're being over the top and ridiculous.
Well, because I think in those moments it feels more like a stage play.
It feels like you're watching Clue.
If you imagine this as like a production that you go to see, I think this is actually like a really fun production.
Yeah.
That is being put on.
It's a fun whodunit,
yeah.
And they all know what they're doing, and they play the role. It's just, yeah. I think they honestly just put that stuff in there to pad out the screen time,
Absolutely.
And I think it's a disservice to the movie overall.
Yeah, you could skip the car chase scenes, and I think they like
don't add anything.
They add nothing to it, so you wouldn't really be missing anything, and probably save yourself about 10 minutes of runtime on this bad boy.
So, 3.8, do with that what ye will. Mm-hmm. I think it is worth a watch just because it's pretty funny and it's fun to solve a mystery.
Yeah.
But
watch it with your friends and have like a couple glasses of wine.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on expecting to be like thrilled and taken away. I think it's just it's just goofy.
Yeah, have a good time. Fun. Have a good hangout time with your pals.
Did you fill out the horniometer this time?
Oh, no, I did not.
I gave it a 9 out of 100. I didn't find it to be very horny.
a 9 out of 100.
Yeah.
It's low for good reason, but it also feels weirdly specific to give it a 9 out of 100.
That's just what my heart told me to do. That's what my loins demanded, was a 9.
Oh man, no, I would give it a little bit higher. I'm gonna say it's a 25, and I'm gonna explain why.
Justify that.
There's a scene where Paul Foote is going to bed. He's going to retire, and the mansion inside has been rigged up with cameras, and so we get a couple of shots, and he's undressing for the evening, and he's very hairy, and they linger on that for a while.
But they were lingering on it because does that mean he's a werewolf?
Because I know that, but like also
it is a little horny.
Yeah, so 25.
Okay.
Which is not really that horny, but also a very little bit.
Honestly, that's kind of horny. Like it's a fourth horny.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fair.
Whatever you say, man. I didn't realize body hair did it for you.
And then
that much, babe.
like you got all the fun accents in there.
That's kind of horny.
Yeah,
kind of horny. Yeah, I gave it a 9 because of moments like lingering on the body hair, and some of the intimate moments between partners. But I don't think it's a horny movie.
No,
I think it wouldn't necessarily dry me up. But it's not doing anything for me, You know what I mean?
Notes could be hornier.
Yeah, could be horny. Add in more horny, less car chases, and we have got a major motion picture.
Put the cars in bikinis.
Make the cars, like, wink.
Yeah.
A little bit, and have a little, like...
When they rev the car, make it sound sexy. You know what I mean?
Make it sound like...
Yeah. Yeah.
Sound like that. Something like that. And then it would be really hot. And
then have like an extended scene where Peter Cushing explains like how werewolves reproduce.
Oh yeah. And everyone's looking around at each other like, is this doing it for anybody else? Yeah.
I think that's a movie.
That's right a movie.
There. I'd watch that. I mean, I watched this, so.
Yeah, so I would definitely watch that. But that's how you go from a 3.8 to a 10.
These easy steps. Not increasing the budget at all for this movie.
No, you wouldn't need to.
No.
Oh, man. All right. Did you even have a scariest moment?
No. I was trying to think about that. And I don't think there's like a scariest moment of this movie.
No, I think the scariest moment is there was one time where Tom tied up his dog in like a barn, and he tied him up in such a way that he didn't have a lot of leeway with the leash. Yeah. It was like too tight, and he had too much like excess hanging off in the other direction. And the whole time I was like, your dog's barely going to be able to sit. Yeah. This is torture for the dog. Yeah. So that was probably the scariest. I would say,
the scariest moments are definitely anything relating to like the dog-on-dog violence.
Yeah, and the implications. The implications are where the scary is.
Yeah, but like there's nothing else in here that is scary. I mean, there's a scene where the German guy in the home base, like they're tracking the werewolf.
Yeah.
And it like comes back to the mansion.
It's smart.
It's smart and I guess is aware in its werewolf form of the technological implications. And it gets up on the roof of this mansion, and he's looking up through like this, skylight thing, and he sees the werewolf, and again, it's just a dog.
It's a dog
on the roof, and that's not even scary because it's just a dog.
It's just a dog, so it's not really scary.
Yeah.
But yeah. Some of the worries about dog-on-dog violence, if you happen to be involved in like British film productions in the 1970s and you know anything about what was going on, put our mind at ease.
Yeah, let us know. The people want to know.
Send an email.
We want answers. Yep. But I think that's it, though.
Yeah, that's all I got.
It's a good movie. I don't want to spoil anything. You may notice
we didn't go over a lot of the plot like we sometimes do, and it's because we think this should be enjoyed.
Yeah, there are definitely moments in this that I want to talk about, but it's one of those movies that like because I don't want to spoil it, like I would want other people to see it and then talk about it with me.
Yeah.
Because I want them to have the experience of trying to solve it and that fun, or like watch it with a group of people and then we discuss it immediately after, kind of a thing.
And if you do that and you have thoughts and feelings you want to share with us, you can hit us up. Because we have an email. It's firstfrightpod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram and X @firstfrightpod. We also have a Facebook page. It's called Love at First Fright. Pretty easy to remember. You can message us, send us a post. Tell us what you thought. Did you guess right? I want to know. We want answers.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi for free.
There are things in this world that we can sometimes understand. We want your answers.
Yes.
So it's similar but legally distinct.
Yes. So send them.
Anyway, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's all.
Thanks for listening. And as always, scare well. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
And watch for the werewolf break. Now that's what they should have done for the werewolf break, not the clock ticking. It's just like a for 30 uninterrupted seconds.
Maybe it should sound more dog.